Before we start this episode of Krypton Report, I want to take a moment and just give a shout out here to our Patreon. I know what you're thinking. Gosh, everyone's asking for money, and I get it. But our Patreon is only $1. $1 a month. It helps us keep the podcast going. And what we do is we try to find interesting shows and topics and whatever we want to talk about. We've done, as of this little thing, our last recordings were on the Scream series. Brian and Tyler, that's me, do our own show where we record in the car, and it's kind of funny. And we talk about pop culture or whatever is going on. We also have the Supernatural podcast we've been reworking. It's taken on some time just because of life. But we do movie commentaries as well. It's something that James and I have done, what we used to do on the main show that we've started doing here. So for $1 a month on our Patreon, you can get those shows. There's at least 4 a month. Also, there's my movie pitch show that I do. But also, what we want is if you're a Patreon, you can come on. You can come on the main show if you want. Or if there's something you want to come on and talk about, we can do it as a Patreon special. So all I want is for $1 a month, think about chipping in, joining our Patreon, and you have a voice to be a part of things. Follow the link in the link tree or in the show notes below, patreon.com/KryptonReport.
Part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright. You're listening to the Krypton Report.
Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. I'm your Hope. Man, I am Hope, I guess.
Yeah, you are Hope. I think that's what we strive to promote here is hope.
We do. We always try to be upbeat and positive. Here on the Krypton Report.
Hope for the future of DC. Hope for the future of this world.
I hate being negative, man. That's why even when things suck, I still try to be positive and find a positive spin on it. And I'll talk about that here later. But hey, I'm Tyler. This is James. What's up, guys?
What's up?
I'm blue. He's red.
Represent.
What's up? We got some news going on. I am going to say something real quick here that is kind of annoying. That's making me annoyed, but I'm still going to be positive here. I get tired of people online who don't realize that the John Kent that's on Superman and Lois is not the same John Kent that's in the comics. That basically took the John Kent of the comics and split it between 2 characters. Okay? Because, there's Jordan and Jonathan. It's not, if you put them together, you get the comic book John Kent. Okay? They're not, the Jonathan on Superman Lois is not the Jonathan of the comics. People, stop. It's annoying. Okay? Obviously, you don't get that. That originally it was 1 character, 1 baby, then Crisis made 2, and then they put it on another Earth where there's 2. Okay? All right. I had to get that little vent off. So, yeah. But hey, let's just jump into some news. We got some news going on. We always like to cover our latest. I'm pulling it up here. There's been a lot of little things that come out the past couple of days. One that just saw today. I don't even know if you've seen this, but Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League will now launch February 2nd of 24.
Ooh.
That just started making its rounds today.
I think I scrolled past something like that, but I didn't have the opportunity to stop and look. It's kind of like scrolling and then put my phone away, and that was it,
Yep. So that's okay. By that time I'll hopefully have a PlayStation 5. So hopefully, we'll see. We'll see.
I feel you, man.
So the second trailer for The Flash will drop April 25th. And Brian's like, I'm not watching it, which means it'll probably be an awesome trailer that will show us something in the plot that will be, oh, okay. And then Brian will make some theory up that we know will be wrong because we saw the second trailer.
It's the story trailer.
He'll go into the movie and be angry because they didn't do what he thought, but he had bad information the whole time.
His own information, his own hopes.
I think the second trailer you said will be more of a story, and it'll probably be the reveal in the trailer of Dark Flash.
Yeah. I mean, I assume story trailer most of the time, they usually go by a 3 trailer kind of system.
they kind of gave us a trailer with like the World Needs Hero and that little trailer thing they did for Fandom, but then they kept getting pushed back, so it kind of got shifted around. So I feel like that was kind of like, okay, we already did kind of the teaser trailer, so then they gave us more of this bigger scope trailer, and then they'll probably kind of dial it in for the next trailer, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like this next trailer will. And so I feel like they're going to be like April 25th, and then it'll be like tickets on sale. And I'm like, dope.
Oh, tickets on sale over about a month and a half or so away.
I mean, they put the Guardians tickets on sale last week, and that's a month away. So, I mean, April 25th is May, June. I guess, yeah, it's like 2 months, but you never know anymore. You never know. It's a way of judging box office and like interest. You'll have to excuse me, people. I'm getting over a chest thing, and
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be as soon as they're available. I'm gonna be like, well, I'm going. This is the show I'm going to see.
Other little news: Titans are back. As of this recording, Titans are back. I started watching one of the 2 episodes that they dropped. So I won't spoil anything. Other than this is what's hilarious is technically Titans once again has been rebranded as Who Owns It, because it's no longer an HBO Max original. It now is a Max original. Who was the bright-eyed person that just thought, hey, Max? That's what
right.
it would be.
Like, we already got HBO Max. Let's just be Max.
That is the dumbest move ever.
You know what? I don't know. I mean, with the merger and everything and all the issues, I mean, maybe a little rebranding to kind of, know.
But it doesn't like Disney Plus. Oh, Disney. Even Peacock, because NBC used to use Peacock all the time. And even if you don't know that, you're like NBC, but then that's owned by Universal. So you're like, oh, you can get there, you know? Hulu's everything. Netflix is kind of everything in its own thing. Max, what the hell is Max? That's the guy from a Goofy movie? That's the guy who owns the burger shop? You know, like, Warner Discovery. It's right there. Warner Discovery Plus, or, Warner Discovery Prime. Or, you know what I'm saying? Warner Discovery Max. I don't care. Like, it was just Warner Max sounds better than Max. And even they're changing the color and dropping the purple and going blue like everybody else.
Because, blue looks smart.
Yeah, that's why I'm Superman of Blue. Oh! It's just, whatever, dude. It just messes me up.
It's funny. I saw that joke coming, like, earlier. When I saw the change to blue.
You're like, F-father.
Yeah, that was about, 10 hours ago.
So we have the Max rebranding. Okay, whatever.
It kind of is what it is, I mean,
yeah,
as long as like the price point doesn't change, and we're getting like the quality programming that HBO and Warner puts out most of the time, then I'm happy.
That's the thing. HBO. There's Laura, our third podcaster tonight. HBO is much bigger of a name grab, but whatever. I'm done with that. But what was I gonna say? I forgot. Dang it. So there was the meeting, and they released a 30-second trailer for The Flash. It's basically like the same trailer we saw, 30 seconds with 3 new really cool shots. One is a reverse of Batman, like Michael Keaton in the Batsuit without the cowl. Oh no, 4 shots. Sorry. One is Batman ejecting from the Batwing as it looks like it's going into a spin. One shot is Barry's feet as he's running, which looks really awesome. And one shot is Supergirl punching a missile.
I was going to say, all those, that 30-second spot's been taken down, but all of those all of those new bits have been clipped into GIFs
Yes.
and are all over the place.
Of course they have. So
And they're all like a second. They're all like 2 frames, 3 frames.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. But it was cool. It was used for the Max big thing they did. The other thing is Max. People are freaking out. Like, they've already said the Flash will stream on Max in the fall. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, it comes out in June, so within 2 months, it would be on Max. Like, that makes sense. That's their business model, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big revelation, people. But Shazam will be on Max May 23rd, which I think is the same day as the physical release.
I was gonna be looking at the pre-order here to pre-order it, so I get it, and then, so I couldn't tell you. I didn't look at it yet. I saw it on my my Amazon, and I was like, hey,
because I pre-ordered it, and back when like it first popped up, before they even had like there was no date given, and I was like, whatever, I'll just do it now while I'm thinking about it, because I saw it. So it says, now arriving May 24th, previously May 19th. So yeah, May 24th, it comes out on physical, the same day it's going to hit Max. So that means they've changed that 45-day window of theatrical to HBO Max. It's now a little bit longer before it hits HBO. So.
I mean, you need to give it time to earn a little bit of money in the box office, whatever it's going to earn, as well as when they drop the digital and the physical.
Yep.
Before you get it for what you're already paying for. I mean, it makes sense to try and earn the money that you can get out of it before giving it to the masses who are already paying.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not really against that. I just think it's smart.
We're proponents of physical media on these things, as well as having our digital copies. So
yeah, they've already hooked me in. So. Let's see here. Frank Grillo has been cast as Rick Flag Sr. in The Creature Commandos. So that's interesting.
I like Frank Grillo.
I do too.
I'm looking forward to that, because we know that if he does get a live action appearance, he's going to play that character. And David Harbour will actually play a live action Frankenstein too. So that's going to be amazing.
And Sean Gunn
if hopefully at some point.
Maria Bakalova as Princess Alana Rostovic. Idrina Varma as the bride, Zoe Chow as Nina Mariska, and Alec Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus. And
Alan Tudyk, yes.
Steve Agee will be in there as Economos. So,
big surprise.
Yeah, so I'm interested. It's just one of those properties that sounds cool, and we can kind of see where it goes. Most of these actors, I'm not 100% who they are, but that's okay. That makes it exciting.
No, I know who the majority of them are. So it's a good cast list. I'm excited.
Yeah, like I said, I like Frank Grillo. It's interesting because before, when everything was going down, before the change up, I had pitched my idea about doing like a third Suicide Squad movie and having Rick Flag Sr. show up and, basically saying that Joel Kinnaman was Rick Flag Jr.
Right.
Oh, okay. Maria Bakalova was the one who played Borat's daughter in the second Borat movie.
Oh, well, I have no idea who that is. So.
Did you ever see the second Borat movie?
Nope.
Oh my god,
I've never seen either one.
Oh my dude, I'm telling you, it's hilarious. Oh, I know who Idrina Barma is. Okay, I know who that is. She scares crap out of me.
She looked familiar. I'm not sure what she was from, but she looked familiar.
So
I know
she
who
was
Alan
on Game of
Tudyk is, of course. David Harbour. Frank
So
Grillo.
Idira Barma, and I apologize if I say your name wrong. I know you're listening. She was in Kenobi. She was the one who was the underground officer, and she was also the lover of Oberon in Game of Thrones.
Oh, lovely.
So cool. So that's cool. That's news that's coming. We can reach your commando. The other thing that we got that I thought was really neat was we got a tease for Penguin, and it was a mixture of like a teaser trailer, but also showing us like there were some behind the scenes type shots. And man, I'm excited. Colin Farrell's going to eat the scenery up as Oz, as the Penguin.
Yeah, he's going to be fantastic. I love him. And what they showed, I mean, I can't wait. And it was a total surprise. I freaking just got on and I was like, what? And this was like when all of this stuff came out. And I was like, what? A teaser trailer? And I was watching it. I was like, awesome.
It was the one time I wasn't looking at my phone. Like I was talking to my wife, and then all of a sudden I looked down, it was like 6 messages from you. Whoa.
Yeah, it was all that crap. It was all that stuff just popping off.
I was like, holy cow. See what happens, Janelle, and I look away. But it looked great. Like he's very Tony Soprano-ish. He's channeling, but not too much. I love the way the trailer kind of did the same aesthetic of like the lettering with the red, keeping it very Batman, the Batman-ish, you know? So
what I did like about it, I loved seeing the mother from How I Met Your Mother. I forget her it's what is it? What's her name?
Christina. You mean the actress or the
yes?
character? Christina.
She's playing Sophia Falcone.
Yeah, she is Sophia Falcone. So.
But she looks great. I mean, Colin Farrell, he's just, he's doing what he does. It's really gonna be interesting to see him being focused on as the leading role for this series. Really expanding on that character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he did so well in the movie, but you only get those snippets, you know. It's different story when it's the leading person and you're following that character around. You know, what is actually happening, you know, outside of the only interactions he had was with Batman. Batman was present. So it kind of creates a dynamic, but when it's just him, it's a whole different story.
Mm-hmm. It is. Let's see. So that's coming in 2024. So that'll be something DC to look forward to in 2024. The other thing is we're getting a horror DC comics event called Night Terrors. That's going to be coming in July. And I don't know much about it other than that.
I've been wanting to dive into the DC horror comics because I love horror. I'm a huge horror fan, huge horror buff. I watch it all year long. Like people are like Spookathon. I'm like
just an average
yearly.
Day for James.
Yeah. I put it on any time.
It looks like it can be like a kind of a huge crossover, like for every title and every book. That's what I was getting. Like it's going to be focusing on like the Justice League Dark kind of in the front because it has all of our mainstay characters as part of it as well.
What's this called?
Like Night Terrors. But they just announced it today, so it was popping up everywhere.
Oh, that I think I missed it.
You know, probably did because I almost missed it too. And then the last thing is Mark Waid, who's like become Deep Sea's reestablished like mega writer, is taking a new Superman comic called Superman Last Days of Lex Luthor. And that'll be coming soon. That's literally all I could get from that. a new Superman-based comic written by Mark Waid.
Huh. Like, is Batman versus Robin going to continue, or is that going to end? Is
I think
World's
that's-
Finest going to continue, or is that going to end? Because he's also doing Lazarus, and he's also doing the new Shazam book coming out, and then he's
Well,
going
I
to
feel
be
like-
doing this Last Days of Lex Luthor.
I feel like Batman versus... Well, it's going to be a Black Label book. The Last Days of Lex Luthor is.
Oh, okay.
I feel like Batman versus Robin is going to end because I feel like that was just a build up to like Lazarus. And so far, there's nothing that's really happened in this whole Lazarus Planet thing that I feel has really affected a whole lot other than the John Kent thing, which is so odd that you could have wrote that in his own story. But the Shazam, what's going on with Shazam right now? Their book, there's been 3 issues of like Revenge of the Gods or whatever, part of the Lazarus Planet. That's been really good. So I think that's going to lead into the Shazam Dawn of DC. But hey, you ready to get some Legion on?
Yes, I am.
So we're diving back into season 2 of the Legion of Superheroes. We have season 2, episode 7, Unnatural Alliances. This got an 8.0 on IMDb. The summary is a bounty hunter from the future sets his sight on a small boy. The Legion goes up against him and discovers an unlikely ally.
Mm-hmm.
Now, first thing about this episode, we're focusing on Superman X. Other Superman, nowhere to be found. It is interesting how he just pops in and out. They both kind of do. It's weird.
Well, I mean, potentially if you've got 2 Supermen, I mean, you can have them on different missions.
You're not wrong.
So that's easily explained away. But yeah, Superman X, and really testing his willingness to do whatever it takes to stop Imperiex.
Yep.
Imperiex, yes. Because this small boy that this future robotic bounty hunter, what's his name?
The boy's name is Abel.
Oh yeah, the boy's name is Abel. This boy creates the technology that repairs and replaces damaged organic tissue.
Basically,
Kind of
the technology
combines go ahead.
that leads to Imperiex.
Yes.
Creation. He's basically Miles Dyson. If we want to go back to some Terminator roots here.
Yeah, right.
So that puts, Superman X, in this dire situation where he can save this boy, or if he doesn't save the boy, his mission to stop Imperiex is complete because Imperiex would never cease to exist. And we get some background on Imperiex being a fighter on Apocalypse, and it's pretty interesting. We see the boy playing with his robot toy, the doll, but he calls it an action figure.
Yeah.
He's being hunted by, what is it? It's a weird name, but hold on, I'm pulling it up here. Tarot Man, who looks like a Wild West robot.
Yeah, riding a motorcycle, looking like Lobo on the bike.
Lobo. I had a conversation about Lobo yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Why was he never on an episode of Smallville? It just feels like in the latter seasons, 8, 9, or 10, Lobo could have just popped up real easily. That was a conversation.
Yeah. I think he definitely could have, Would have made an interesting bit to throw in, maybe even in season 6 with the Phantoms.
Yeah, but I feel like season 6 we weren't as crazed yet as we got to the latter seasons.
Yeah.
It was just like, whatever. Because that was in the latter seasons we got Maxima, you know.
Yeah, Maxima, Booster, Blue Beetle.
They're just like, throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah.
But, you know, this episode's interesting because we find out that K3NT also created Tarot Man, which I thought was interesting. And, you know, they're kind of on the same thing. And the reason why it's called Unnatural Alliances is literally Superman X has to team up with Imperiex to protect the boy from Tarot Man and defeat Tarot Man because Superman X chooses to save the boy, but it's not the boy's fault that Imperiex exists. It's a good lesson in there for Superman X, who probably should hang out with Connor from Justice League, or Young Justice. I can't talk. They can get their anger out together.
I enjoyed the episode though. You know, it was good to see that the influence that Superman has had on Kal-El.
On X, because X
on
can
X.
give it to you.
Yeah.
X can give it to you.
Yes.
That's his theme song as he comes riding in with his super powered shield that like projects from his suit. Like he actually has a shield. Like he's just like, X won't give it to you.
He had an interesting like blast of energy powers when him and Imperiex teamed up to destroy the bounty hunter.
I find him an interesting character, and I feel like it would have been interesting if they really positioned him more as the Superman of this season. But this season feels so disjointed. I don't know, like they feel they set it up to be this very tight-knit season, but I think because it feels like it is, but it's not. You know, like Young Justice was a very tight-knit, each episode rolled into the next type series, and I feel like this is kind of trying to be that. But at the same time, because it has an overarching season plot, but yet it's not as interconnected. Like the first season didn't have an overarching season plot at all.
Right. Well, this was still like what, mid-2000s, where
This is 2007.
yeah. I mean, you know, that was kind of the way that shows were going, but maybe not animation. Like it might have been animation catching up in that respect. At least
trying to find the positive.
I don't, you know, I mean,
Look at that.
I don't even think that might even be true because there's tons of animated shows that came out before that are just one story.
Right. Which is fine. That's what I'm saying. It just feels weird because it's like I don't know. Anyways, James is smart. We'll keep moving on. I like the episode.
I was grasping.
I liked it. I like this season. The second episode we watched was season 2, episode 8, Message in a Bottle. And I got an 8.1. Now this episode has a regular Superman in it. And Superman X is nowhere to be found.
Yeah. And he's in the bottle city of Kandor.
And this is what's weird is, okay, in this, he's from the past, now in the future. But he hasn't interacted with Kandor yet in the past. So now he's interacting with Kandor in the future.
Yeah, and they talk about his ancient promise of rescuing and regrowing the city of Kandor, which means like Superman has never done it.
Yeah, he never figured it out. And then we established, because they see Brainiac 5, and this is what's interesting is how much they know about Brainiac 1. Because even Superman didn't know that Brainiac 1 was responsible for the destruction of Krypton. And Brainiac 5 says, you know, he had kept things from him about his past lineage so that he wouldn't be judged on his ancestor and all this. And it is because of his ancestor that Brainiac 5 is able to tap in the knowledge. And they are, at the end of the episode, they regrow the planet Krypton and put Kandor there, and Brainiac regrows them and brings them to life, and they get out of the city, and it was really interesting. Because we have, things like Superman goes into the city and there's one of the Fatal Five members. And Superman he's losing his powers because he didn't bring his power suit because he didn't know about the red energy. Yeah, it was a good episode, I will say. But sometimes when watching all this Superman content and skipping around, you forget what characters know and they don't know. So, yeah, what'd you think?
I thought it was interesting. I like the Kandor stuff. I think it's really cool. He finally got the chance to do it. What's really interesting being like he makes that promise to them in the past, but like he promises he will because he already did, but it's not going to happen until they reach 1,000 more years into the future.
It's weird like that,
right? Like it's actually kind of a cool thing to think about, but yeah, that's pretty wild.
Let's see. I liked it because I don't know, you got to know more about what was going on with Brainy. And it's weird to me that Brainy hadn't really told him that. I don't know. So it's like, it's stuff you forget it's gone on. Like you just kind of figured by now Superman would have interacted with Brainiac, but he hadn't yet. So even past future Superman, because it's an older Superman than we interact in the first season, and it was more Superboy, still hasn't interacted with Brainiac yet. But all right.
Oh yeah, that's
I know, confusing. So comics wise, Superman Lost #1 has hit. The streamer, I read it, really wasn't impressed with it. Basically the premise, it starts out Lois and Clark doing their thing, and Justice League need Clark. He goes off. Lois is still working on typing and writing. He comes back and he's extremely withdrawn and just staring out the window, and it's beautifully drawn for like multiple pages, and then Batman shows up as Bruce Wayne. So we'll say Bruce Wayne shows up, and he's startled to find Clark there, and you basically find out that Clark's been missing for 20 years. But to everyone else, it feels like he hasn't even been gone.
Oh, but to him, he's been gone for 20 years.
Yep.
Wow.
And so then they just start talking about how they were trying to save this submarine, and Clark flew into a black hole. An artificial black hole was being created. He flew in to collapse it. And that's pretty much where they end the first issue. There's a lot of them talking about, like, you see the Justice League trying to, stop this this problem going on in the sea, and the mission, and Clark went into the black hole. So I'm like, okay. I don't know. I wasn't really impressed. The idea is kind of interesting, but at the same time, I'm like, do we really need this story? But just more of Superman losing time in life.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's not like he loses any time if no time passed for them.
Right.
Like
he still has.
He lived 20 years, but he lived 20 years, and he has an entire damn near lifetimes of experiences.
So it's gonna be interesting. Where it goes. Like
it's an interesting story that you wouldn't necessarily get the opportunity to tell in like a straight continuity thing, but you can give him this grand story that takes place kind of outside of time because of this black hole.
Black hole, son. Kind of reminds me of like the Odyssey. I wonder if that will go something like that. We'll see. But that's the only major comic. I've been reading Flash. I have officially completed. I'm caught up with where they are with Flash right now. So I started. It's taking me a little over a week. I read the end of the New 52, which was the DCU, through all of Rebirth, to the DC Universe, to the Infinite Frontier to whatever it is now. So I'm caught up to where Wally is now the main Flash part of 1 Minute War. That's been my main reading.
Ah.
That was like 100 and some, almost 200 comics.
Well, so when it comes to my comic reading, I haven't done a whole lot except for what we have done for the podcast, and then I had a pile of Spawn books, so I had read
Nice.
a number of my Spawn books that had piled up over the last few months. So it was, that was a good read.
Sounds good. I love reading, and sometimes it's overwhelming, or sometimes you're overwhelmed with not knowing what to read. So
Well,
you read you read the new books that just drop, and then you're like, okay, what the old stuff am I going to dive into? And there's a few other little mini Flash runs, and then I'm like, do I want to dive back into Mark Waid's Wally? Do I want to find a new thing to just kind of read? And I don't know where I want to go next.
Right. Well, I've done a few comics like I could there, but then also I was started reading a novel. So yeah, a book without pictures. It's been a while.
I wanted to eventually one day review the Superman Dawnbreaker book, but book reviews are so difficult.
I have it.
I know. They take a while to do. It just gets to be so difficult to do. Just take up time. But okay.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of time commitment to read the book. Typically longer than a show.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Too much. Okay. So that leads us to this week's Superman and Lois, which is season 3, episode 5, Head On. Clark and General Lane are both having a hard time giving Lois room to make her own decisions. Lana and Sarah have a run-in with an old friend at the diner, Natalie, as a surprise visitor. And Jania made an observation on this episode that I just looked at her and said, damn, I love you. My woman's smart. But yeah, kind of open discussion, James. What you thinking?
I mean, very emotional. The Clark bit of this, like, we didn't have a whole lot of Superman.
And I was okay with that.
Yeah, it was a lot of character interactions. Progressing some plot forward. I liked seeing Clark gathering this information from others about the difficult road ahead.
Yeah, I told Jania, I said, this episode, if they hadn't even put him in the cape, I've been okay. Because when he does show up and does his Supermanness and he has that fight, I was a little disappointed, because I felt like he could have come in. I feel like sometimes writers don't know how to really write Superman's powers and how he can use them. So I really felt like the fight, even though dude had a kryptonite knife, I just felt like Superman got played hardcore, and he could have stopped what was going on. So here's the fight. Okay, we're all over the place. I don't remember what they named the character, but he can phase through things. Okay, and he puts like a device on the computer for the DoD, and it's transmitting data. Okay, Superman busts in an epic way. Why didn't he just heat vision the device?
Yeah, standing from the door, he could have heat visioned that device and then attack the person, and we could have gotten that really cool fight. I mean, it was really cool, but yeah, I don't think,
We know he
They,
can
they
control
have
his,
they have superpowers because they're powered by his blood.
which means they should have superpowers that maybe he has, and not these random weird things like Superman can't phase like that. Okay, so I'm just like, he could have heat visioned the thing, blew it up, even damaged the computer. It's the hard drive computer, so it's like it's taking access. It's not like it's a mainframe. I mean, that would have been better than letting them get the secrets that they were trying them to have them not get. So I just felt like that scene was probably the weakest scene of the entire episode, honestly. We do get some cool visuals, like when they're behind the wall and he's like throwing the guy, and he is using his freeze breath and heat, but it just doesn't seem like it's really working like it should. And then he does the clap, which is cool, which knocks the guy into the wall, and then he gets stuck in the wall. Like he shifts and just is stuck in the wall.
Yeah, it's like his powers were partially by the device or whatever in his chest, and it was damaged, so he kind of like phased in the wall and got stuck.
Yeah. So and then they're like, "Oh, but Superman, you didn't stop us." And so to me, that was like the weakest part. I think the writing on this episode was amazing. It was directed by David Ramsey, aka Dickel. I think he did a fantastic job. I think Bruno Mannheim has become a fascinating character.
Yeah, his interaction with Lois in this episode specifically was very awesome and sounded just about incredibly genuine,
He's becoming a very interesting, multi-layered character, and I like that. Lois goes to his cancer hospital, and she's having her second chemo treatment, and Clark is being the most supportive husband. And I told Jania, like, I think like Tyler's acting in this episode of just the subtleties of being the most powerful being on the planet, sitting there listening to these two ladies who are going through chemo, telling him what to expect and how his wife's going to be, and him just feeling the heartbreak that he can't do anything to it. And I said to Jania, I'm like, you couldn't do this real of a story like on Smallville. She goes, why? I'm like, because he's got that Jesus blood. And she goes, what? I'm like, how many times in Smallville do they like, oh, they use Clark's blood to cure this disease or bring this person back to life? I mean, in season 9, they literally have him with a kryptonite nail in the palm of his hand and drip blood on Zod and heal him. So I'm just like, yeah, that would have never flown on Smallville, but they're playing this so more grounded that it's actually beautiful to see. Like, so I just, I think Tyler's Clark is just great. It's the episode starts with him and Sam kind of butting heads on what to do about Lois's treatment, and Lois is so stubborn, but eventually he disagrees with her and says, like, you have to let me help you make decisions and say something about your treatment. And they have a great moment where she's like, tell me even if I'm wrong, like, I need you to help me.
Yeah, because she wants to go to the dance. Like, she's saying that, just because she's sick and she's getting treatment, it's not going to stop her life, that she's going to, but there's really no continuing everything as you had planned when you're full on doing chemo. So by the time Clark gets back from the DOD, she's basically immobilized, feeling sick on the couch.
Yeah. It was a great episode for him, for Clark, just kind of what he's dealing with.
Last 2 episodes have been pretty great for Clark.
Lois, in a sense, Lois being humbled was nice. In this, it was really humbling to see her realize that she can't do this on her own.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who I think was a really great character in this episode. It was Sam. Sam Lane. In this episode, he actually bonded with Nat and helped her, gave her some advice, and she called him Grandpa. I thought it was really sweet. You know.
Yeah, that's a curious one. I'm
do you think?
interested in because like part of it has been like
I hope
she
I didn't
is
lose
like they're
James.
not
I mean, he might have went off to
their
save
mother and
somebody
they're
by
not their
accident.
grandfather.
We'll just wait a second here. He might be taking care of the dog.
I mean, part of it was he wants to get to know her and take care of her. So I don't know
So what do you think
if
about
it's going to
Sam
be
Lane
a
in the
problem because she calls him grandpa or not.
All right, everybody. So James is now back from fighting crime. He heard something with his super hearing. He zoomed off. He's back. James, tell everybody, what do you think about Sam Lane in this episode?
The performance and what he did, everything was great. The only concern I have is they kind of spent a lot of time like Lois is not the mom, and then like they did mention that Sam is not the grandfather, that he's not her grandfather, and she called him that. I mean, he did want to get to know her and be in her life. I was curious if that was going to cause a problem. Otherwise, I thought that the interaction and him being protective and giving her the courage to go back inside because she's never kissed a boy before, and she she basically ran away from it.
Yeah, so Mateo shows up because Mateo tracked down Sarah online and wanted Nat's number, but Sarah led him to Smallville to find Nat, and Jordan found him in town and brought him to the farm. And my favorite line is Grandpa says, "You just violated every like protocol I taught you about safety."
Yeah, you brought him right to the farm.
And you know what Jania said to me when he got out of the truck? She goes, "Do you think his last name's Mannheim?"
Oh,
And I was like, dude.
yeah.
I was like, Jania, that's stellar. And then I looked at the casting, like, they did do a good job on casting on this. That could be Bruno's son. Because we don't know much about this dude.
This is extremely true.
We don't know his last name yet. Or maybe he goes by his mother's like last name if we find out something. But I was kind of waiting for that. I'm like, okay. In this episode, I really liked Jordan. Jordan seemed to be very upbeat and just kind of was trying to help everybody. He didn't do any Superboying in this episode, which is fine. Jonathan had the most in this episode, and I really like what they're doing with Jonathan. We have a great scene of we see Kyle's like broken down on the same stretch of road he's always hanging out on his truck, which makes me worried about where Kyle spends his time. And Jonathan stops and checks on him, and he says, all kinds of people passed, but you're the first one to stop. And basically, Kyle's kind of recruiting Jonathan to come work at the firehouse on the weekends to learn and kind of mentorship. And I think that's a pretty cool angle for Jonathan, giving him some direction of what to do because he has the pull to help and serve people, but not really sure what to do in his family. And I think it's also helping develop the Kyle character more. They're doing some good things with him as someone who's like knew he made a mistake and he's striving to be a better person. I like it.
I agree. Kyle's been doing a lot of good lately, which makes you,
he's been doing a lot of Bippo
which
lately?
makes you think like Lana. There was a reason she fell in love and married him and everything. You know what I mean? Like he's obviously a good person, but bad things. One thing led to another, and it kind of, he made some bad decisions.
Yes, he did.
But ultimately, it looks like, and that's where we were introduced to him. I know, I know you didn't like the things that were going on previously, but I think he's definitely stepped it up. Like they've wrote his character very well. Changing. Broke down on the side of the road, offering that to Jonathan, giving him, that questioning him on his his priorities in life. What is he gonna do, and then like helping kids start the dance, gets out
Yeah.
there, starts dancing, puts on a little show, kind of breaks the tension so kids can start dancing and have a good time.
Yeah, he pulls Chrissy out there and starts doing it. It was funny. Like, we have this scene of like Kyle and Chrissy waking up together the next morning, and Lana messages Chrissy, and Chrissy's like freaking out because she thinks Lana knows. One, it doesn't really matter.
They're divorced.
Right. Two, you'd already talked to Lana about a story in the paper. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that far-fetched that she would message you about that,
Yeah, she's the mayor of the town. Like,
And
if
you're
you're
the
gonna
news
print a story with her as the source, she's gonna.
So it just kind of was interesting to me. She's all freaked out, thinking Lana's going to say something about her and Kyle. It's not like they're. Doesn't matter, Of course, we learn that Candace is leaving, and Jonathan's driving her to Topeka, which is 4 hours away, and that he's going to focus on working on the weekends at the firehouse, and that's better for them. And this is them breaking up. Kansas Candace staying at the farm only lasted for in between an episode. They didn't drag it out or anything.
Yep, didn't drag it out, and it didn't turn out to be a disaster like they were projecting.
I mean, they alluded to it when Jordan's talking about how he never he gets cold showers, he can never get into the bathroom. Because even later in the episode, Lois makes the joke about, "Oh, you washed your hair," to him. So we didn't even have that, or like the humor of Jordan trying to do some superheroing and trying to keep it from Candace. So I thought that was kind of neat, like just something a little unexpected. But you know what was missing from this episode?
What's that?
Think about it for a minute. What was missing from this episode?
No Steele.
No John Henry Irons.
Henry.
Not even a line of dialogue about John Henry. And Jania's like, once I pointed that out to her, she goes, "You think he would have been there at the dance chaperoning? Like, Nat's there and everything?"
Well, he's working on implementing things to keep people safe so he can take down Bruno.
That's true. They did give us he did talk about you're right. I kind of forgot about that last week's episode where he talked about going to set up stuff for his quote unquote family, not family.
Yeah.
He
doesn't want people, even if they're not related to him on this earth, he doesn't want innocent people to be hurt because of, somebody else.
That's right. You're right. I totally forgot he did drop that line last week. So that makes sense. But it still was just, you felt his absence, But it won't be for long when he comes back and sweeps Lana off her feet. Like, let's get some dinner at the one diner in town.
Yeah.
Well,
we do like them together. They do have some good on-screen chemistry.
It was a good episode of just building the drama and developing our characters and letting us enjoy our characters. A lot of times, it's like in comics too, like people talk about in comics, like I prefer like the action splash pages or whatever. Sometimes I really like the dialogue and the characters talking and developing the story. And I think giving us an episode like this will help that later on we get an episode that is more just action and bombastic,
Well, we're only getting 13 episodes this season? Is that what it was dropped to?
Yes.
So, give us that budget, and I think we still got 8 episodes of some good stuff. And, we got to talk about how this episode ended.
Yep, we're getting there. We're getting there. So I want to throw something out at you real quick, okay?
Yeah.
I looked it up. It's about $5 million, okay, per episode of Superman and Lois. Okay, you multiply that by 13, that's $65 million. So that tells me that you could possibly make just $100 million really good Superman movie, because they've really made the effects on this season look better. If you have a good story and everything, you could do a good Superman movie for $100 million, maybe 150. I mean, Shazam, Fury of the Gods was like 120. The first Shazam was like 100. We don't need to go 250,
well, and
200 million.
in that you've got to
300.
do like the effects on multiple people.
Yeah.
When it's Superman, you've just got Superman and whatever.
So I'm just saying, like, the budget, like, it is possible to be able to do a good Superman movie and not have like a $200-300 million price tag.
Right.
Now, the end of this episode, we learn that Intergang invaded the DoD and stole things, and they have themselves a new asset. James, tell us about that asset.
Well, that asset is the dead body of Bizarro. So,
Dun, dun,
they've been
dun.
bringing people back to life with Superman's blood. And are we going to get a revival of Bizarro?
Or is it going to mutate Bizarro into something else? I've seen people speculate that online too.
Yeah.
But my thing is,
Well,
I'm thinking, wouldn't it be kind of neat?
I'm still a little bit upset with the way that they handled the misdirect at the beginning of last season when it came to Bizarro, because like he was in this giant suit. He looked like he was massive. Like Doomsday. They purposefully made him look like that. The suit, honestly, I understand the idea behind the suit, but making him look that way, and then when he's actually standing face to face, he's the exact same size as Tyler. Like, yeah, I was like, that was just that was like the Infinity War with the Hulk.
Brian be cheering you on right now. But wouldn't it be neat if the reverse kind of thing happens, because his blood would be kind of the reverse of Superman's and it's the same? So what if they put Superman's blood in him and it brings him back, but like it makes him like a better person or something, and he actually like comes back to life and like destroys Bruno's lab and like everything.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it could be really interesting on what happens if they bring him back, because Bizarro at the end wasn't a bad person. We learned what his mission was and what he was doing. He wasn't really an adversary. So I just really hope they don't try to go like Doomsday route or something like that. I don't know. Like,
I was gonna say, if they did go the Doomsday route and have him transformed into something like that, I mean, it would be interesting. It would just be another, it would be another pull from the already DC universe.
I still think that Superman Doomed would be an interesting way of doing Doomsday, and doing like a Doomsday virus that starts turning people into Doomsdays.
Yeah, I do think that would be interesting. That would be an interesting story to tell. But I do think, maybe either paying off the idea of Doomsday, the tease that they had last season, by kind of going down the same route of, a Kryptonian mutating kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it could work.
It could.
If they had a story to tell.
We will see. No onomatopoeia this week.
Yeah, I don't quite see it happening, going that way. But
I just feel like the writers
way
are
they
smarter
did
than we are.
Doomsday on Krypton, I would hope that they would be able to bring something like that into this if they went down that route sometime.
Sounds good. That's going to do it for us this week. I'm getting over being sick, so I'm not as lively and jovial as I usually am. So I hope you all will forgive me for that, our good listeners, because James and I are trying to do something cool coming up soon. So keep your eyes on the social media. James, any final words from you over there, Red Man?
Red Man?
Yep,
See,
Red
now
Man,
I
Blue
wish
Man.
I knew some like Wu-Tang or something. Red and Method.
red and blue, bro. Ooh, it sucks with rappers.
Look up in the sky.
We just want to say if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network. We're going to press pause and hear a few words from our other podcasts on Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough Super Talk, check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, the Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/Krypton Report. You find all of our reports.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.